I never thought my life would turn out this way. When I was younger, I believed in love stories that always ended happily. I thought marriage meant safety, support, and a shared future. But at 25, I realized my marriage is nothing like that dream. It feels more like a cage than a partnership. I married my husband when I was only 21. He was older, confident, and charming enough to make me believe he was the right man. I thought his maturity meant stability. I thought he would take care of me, of us. But I couldn't have been more wrong. Our wedding wasn't about romance. It wasn't planned with excitement or joy. It happened because I got pregnant. Suddenly, there was pressure from both of our families. He didn't want to look like the man who abandoned his responsibility, and I didn't want to disappoint my parents. He told me privately that he wasn't ready to marry, but he didn't have the courage to admit that to my family. So we rushed into it. No ring, no real vows, no dreams of a future. Just a civil wedding and a certificate. I wanted to believe it was the start of something beautiful, but it wasn't. From day one, things felt off. We had no home of our own. We moved into his family's crowded house where his 3 sisters lived with their children. Somehow, I became just another mouth to feed. We didn't even have our own bedroom. We slept on a mattress on the floor, moving from room to room whenever space was available. It didn't feel like marriage. It felt like I was intruding in someone else's home. His eldest sister provided food. She paid the bills. She kept the household running while we contributed nothing. My husband had no job. He claimed he was waiting for the right opportunity, but during the pandemic, he worked as an agent for online gambling. That was his version of income. It was unstable, unreliable, and humiliating. Meanwhile, I was living off the scraps of his sister's generosity. I felt ashamed every single day. When I gave birth, I stayed with my mom for recovery. I thought maybe he would finally step up. Maybe fatherhood would change him. But it didn't. He spent more time drinking with friends than being with us. He often didn't come home at night. Sometimes I wondered if he even cared that he had a wife and child. Then, tragedy struck. Our baby girl passed away at just 2 months old. I was the one who rushed her to the hospital. My husband, he was out drinking. He never even saw her alive for the last time. That pain still cuts deeper than anything I can describe. You'd think loss would bring 2 people closer, but for us, it pushed us further apart. He didn't comfort me. He didn't grieve with me. He just carried on with his life as if nothing had changed. I kept hoping he would change. I kept lowering my expectations. I told myself, maybe if I give more, he'll give something back. But the truth is, he gave nothing, and I accepted crumbs because I was too afraid to walk away. I tried working at a call center in another town. I wanted to support myself, to contribute, to feel useful. But instead of being proud of me, he grew suspicious. He accused me of having affairs. He called me unfaithful when all I was doing was working. He refused to join me or move closer to my job. He said he didn't want to leave his hometown. So after 4 months, I quit. I gave up my chance at independence. I went back to his family's house, back to living off his sister. That's when the resentment from his family started. They called us burdens. They whispered about us when they thought I couldn't hear. And honestly, they weren't wrong. We were living rent-free, bill-free, food-free. But it wasn't just their house I felt trapped in. It was my entire marriage. My husband saw me not as a partner, but as an inconvenience. Picking me up from my mom's house, just 3 miles away, was too much trouble. Running errands with me was too exhausting. Yet when his friends called, he had endless energy. He would stay out all night drinking. He never missed a party. He never said no to them. For me, he always had an excuse. He never planned dates. He never surprised me with even the smallest gesture. Not even a single flower in all our years together. When I asked why, he said, "Flowers just die. What's the point?" I wasn't asking for diamonds or fancy trips. I just wanted effort. I wanted proof that I mattered. Instead, I felt invisible. And the worst part is I kept convincing myself this was normal. The more time passed, the more I noticed a pattern. Every single thing that involved me was an inconvenience for him. Going out with me? Too much effort. Spending a day with my family? Not worth it. Listening to my problems? He didn't have the patience. But if his friends wanted to drink until morning, he suddenly had full of energy. It's like he saved all his best parts for them and gave me only the leftovers. He never gave me a wedding ring. I know some people might think it's just jewelry, but it mattered to me. It wasn't about gold or diamonds. It was about being chosen, about commitment. But he said he didn't have money for it, and after that, he never even tried. For years, I carried this silent pain, being married but with nothing to show for it. He made decisions without me. He never asked for my opinion. If I tried to give input, he would snap and tell me I was too controlling. It hurt because all I wanted was to feel like an equal partner. But he made it clear, my voice didn't matter. What made it worse was that he always asked his sister for approval. If she didn't agree with something, he wouldn't do it. Sometimes I wondered if I was married to him or to his family. I started to realize that he had no plans for us. Whenever I asked about the future, about moving out, about saving money, about starting something of our own, his answer was always vague. "We'll figure it out when the time comes," he would say. But that time never came. He left everything up to fate, as if responsibility would magically fall into his lap one day. Every argument we had ended the same way. He would say he regretted marrying me. He would remind me that he only did it because of my father, and then he would tell me to just go back to my parents if I wasn't happy. Those words cut deeper each time. I thought marriage was about building together, but to him it was just something he was trapped in. Money was another battle. He never shared his income with me. Whatever he earned went straight to his pocket. If he gave me something, it was always with conditions. Save it, don't spend it, keep it for when I need it. It was never for me. It was never to make my life easier. It was just another way to remind me that I had nothing of my own. I became more like his assistant than his wife. I cooked, I cleaned, I prepared his clothes, I washed his laundry, I made his coffee. I reminded him to take his vitamins, filled his water bottle, folded his shirts neatly in the closet. I served him, always. And yet whenever I needed something, he was too tired, too busy, too uninterested. It was one-sided, and I felt more like a maid than a partner. The little moments hurt the most. At the dinner table, he would eat while staring at his phone, never once trying to have a conversation. After eating, he would leave his plate, stand up, and walk away, leaving me alone in the kitchen. I kept doing my duties because I thought that's what a wife was supposed to do. But in the process, I was slowly losing myself. He never apologized for anything. Even when it was clearly his fault, he twisted the situation until I looked like the problem. If I got upset, he would say, "Then leave me. Just don't tell people it was my choice. Say it was yours." His pride mattered more than my feelings. His image mattered more than my pain. He never gave me flowers, not even once. In 6 years together, I never received a single rose. It sounds small, but to me, it meant everything. A flower is such a simple way to say, "You matter. I thought of you." But for him, even that was too much. And when I asked, he mocked me. Why would I waste money on something that dies? That was his way of killing even the smallest hope inside me. We never traveled together, never had a trip that was just us. Every anniversary, every birthday, every holiday was just another ordinary day. There was no excitement, no effort, no joy. He gave me some gifts here and there, like clothes on sale or basic things I needed, but never once something thoughtful, something meaningful. By 2023, he finally started working in his sister's small business. But even then, nothing really changed. His money wasn't for us. It was for him. He gambled, he spent, He lived as if he was still a bachelor. And I kept trying. I kept holding on, waiting for a moment that never came. In 2024, I got pregnant again. This time, I felt both fear and hope. Maybe a child would finally give us something to fight for. But then, tragedy struck again. I lost the baby. The heartbeat was gone. I felt like my world collapsed all over again. And instead of holding me, instead of comforting me, he blamed me. He said my body was the problem, that I was broken. He said all the money we spent on hospital visits and tests was wasted because of me. Those words haunt me. I carried the pain of losing a child, and he turned it into my fault. My parents helped us financially, but even that became a weapon. He would remind me that he had to spend his savings for nothing, as if our baby was nothing, as if my grief was an inconvenience. That's when I started asking myself the hard questions. Is this what marriage is supposed to be? Is this what I gave up my youth for? 6 years of giving, serving, sacrificing, and in return, nothing but pain, blame, and regret. After losing the second baby, something inside me changed. I no longer looked at him the same way. His face, his voice, his presence, everything reminded me of disappointment and loss. I realized I wasn't just grieving my child, I was grieving the marriage I thought I had, the future I thought we would build together. He, on the other hand, carried on as if nothing had happened. He went back to drinking, back to gambling, back to his friends. He laughed, he celebrated, he lived. Meanwhile, I cried silently at night, hiding under the covers, because I knew he wouldn't care. If anything, he would just call me dramatic. I started noticing how often he compared me to his sister. She was the one he turned to for advice. She was the one whose opinion mattered. If she didn't approve of something, he wouldn't do it. Sometimes I felt like I was just an outsider in their home, like I was competing with his family for a place in his life. And no matter how hard I tried, I always lost. I wanted to leave so many times. I dreamed of packing my bags, going back to my parents, starting over. But then, fear would hold me back. Fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear that maybe I couldn't survive on my own. And so I stayed. Day after day, I stayed. My health began to suffer. Stress consumed me. I lost weight, I lost sleep, I lost joy. Even my friends noticed, but I pulled away from them too. He didn't like me going out, didn't like me posting online, didn't like me sharing my thoughts with anyone. He wanted control, and slowly, he got it. One night we had another fight. I don't even remember what started it. Maybe money, maybe chores, maybe nothing at all. But I remember what he said. He looked me in the eye and told me he regretted the day he married me. He said I ruined his life, that I was the reason he couldn't do what he wanted. He told me I was nothing but a burden. I stood there frozen, my hands shaking, my chest heavy. I wanted to scream, to throw something, to leave. But instead, I just cried. And as always, he never apologized. He never does. He went to sleep and I stayed awake wondering how much more I could take. I tried to find small reasons to stay. Maybe he'll change, I told myself. Maybe if we save enough, we can finally move out. Maybe if I get pregnant again, things will be different. But deep down, I knew better. I knew this wasn't about money or circumstances. This was about who he was, and he wasn't going to change. I started keeping a secret journal, writing down every fight, every insult, every time he made me feel worthless. It was my only escape, my only way to let the pain out. Reading back through those pages, I saw a pattern I couldn't ignore. It wasn't just bad luck. It wasn't just hard times. It was abuse. The hardest part was realizing how much of myself I had lost. I used to be full of dreams, full of energy, full of hope. But now, I barely recognized the girl I once was. Instead of chasing my own goals, I was chasing scraps of affection from a man who never saw my worth. When I visited my parents, I felt a strange sense of peace. For a few hours, I could breathe again. But when it was time to return to his house, I felt my chest tighten. It was like walking back into a prison I couldn't escape. And every time, I asked myself, why am I still here? He liked to remind me that I had nothing without him. He said I depended on his family, that I was lucky they even let me stay. He made me feel small, powerless, replaceable. And the more he repeated it, the more I almost believed it. But a small part of me, the part that still remembered who I used to be, began to fight back. I started imagining what life would look like if I left. No more walking on eggshells, no more begging for attention, no more crying myself to sleep. Just freedom, just peace. I knew my parents would support me, but I also knew it wouldn't be easy. Divorce, annulment, separation, whatever you want to call it, it's never simple. There would be judgment, there would be whispers, there would be shame. But what was more shameful? Leaving or staying in a marriage where love didn't exist? The more I thought about it, the clearer it became. I had wasted 6 years of my life waiting for a man to become someone he would never be. I had begged, I had sacrificed, I had endured, and still I was empty. The final straw came one night when he was drunk. He stumbled home, angry, yelling about money. He accused me of stealing from him, even though I hadn't touched a cent. He called me names I can't even repeat. And when I tried to defend myself, he laughed. That laugh broke something in me. It was the sound of a man who knew he had all the power and I had none. That night, I promised myself it was the last time I would let him break me. I didn't know how, I didn't know when, but I knew I had to leave. I had to save myself before there was nothing left of me to save. The morning after that fight, I looked at myself in the mirror. My eyes were swollen, my face pale, my body weak. I didn't see a wife. I didn't see a partner. I saw a woman who had been broken down piece by piece until she barely existed. That realization hit me like a wave. I couldn't live like this anymore. I started quietly making plans. I saved small amounts of money whenever I could, even if it was just a few dollars. I hid them in places he would never check. I reconnected with a few old friends, testing the waters of what life outside his shadow could feel like. I began telling myself that I deserved better, even if my heart hadn't fully believed it yet. When I visited my parents, I hinted at my struggles. My mom's eyes softened, and I could see that she already knew. She had seen the sadness in me for years. She didn't push, but she reminded me that I always had a home with them. Those words gave me hope. Meanwhile, my husband kept being himself, careless, selfish, blind to the damage he caused. He didn't notice the shift in me. He didn't notice the quiet determination building inside me. To him, I was still the same woman who would stay no matter what. He didn't realize I was slowly slipping away. One night, he came home drunk again. He accused me of embarrassing him in front of his friends because I had asked him to come home earlier. He shouted, slammed the door, and stormed off to bed. And in that moment, I felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, no pain, just emptiness. That emptiness was my answer. I wasn't afraid anymore. That night, I prayed. I asked for strength, for courage, for clarity. And for the first time in a long time, I felt peace. The decision was made in my heart. Even if I hadn't spoken it out loud yet, I was going to leave. In the days that followed, I began to imagine my future differently. I pictured waking up in my own room, in my own space, without the weight of his voice, his control, his disappointment. I pictured laughter again, freedom again, maybe even love again. It felt distant, but possible, and possibility was enough to keep me going. I thought about everything I had endured, the neglect, the insults, the lack of support, the loneliness. I thought about the babies I had lost and how he had failed me in my darkest moments. I thought about the years wasted waiting for him to change, and I realized I wasn't the problem. I never was. The truth is, I deserved love. I deserved respect. I deserved a partner who wanted to build with me, not tear me down.
And if he couldn't be that man, then I had to be brave enough to walk away. Staying would mean choosing misery. Leaving would mean choosing myself. And so I began to prepare for the final step. I knew it wouldn't be easy. I knew there would be gossip, judgment, maybe even anger. But I knew this. I couldn't continue living a life where I was invisible. My happiness mattered too. Now, as I share this story, I stand at a crossroads. Do I file for divorce? Do I seek an annulment? Do I walk away from 6 years of my life and start fresh? Or do I keep trying with a man who has shown me over and over who he really is? I don't have all the answers yet, but I know one thing for sure. I can't go back to being the woman who accepted crumbs. I can't keep waiting for love from someone who doesn't know how to give it. So I'm asking you, if you were in my place, what would you do? Would you keep fighting for a marriage that feels like it's already over? Or would you choose yourself, even if it means starting all over again? I wonder, is it braver to stay, or is it braver to leave? Is it worth holding on to a bond that was never really built on love, or is it finally time to cut the chain and set myself free? What do you think? Should I give him one last chance, or is 6 years of disappointment already enough?